Hello, ladies. Dr. Show here once again. Yes, it's been a while. Happy Valentine's Day in arrears. I hope you had fun. I hope Valentine bubbled. I hope there was love in the air, red roses, chocolates, and everything beautiful. Love day just happened. And today I'm here to talk about abortion. Oh my goodness, what kind of combination is that? Well, those are the realities of life. What is an abortion? I'm going to use this outline. What is an abortion? And then what is a miscarriage? Is there a difference? Are they the same? Why will I choose to have or not have an abortion? Are there any benefits and or consequences to my choice? Do I always have a choice? What are abortion laws? Is there an unmet need? So let's start by defining an abortion. So an abortion can be defined as the termination of an unplanned and or an unwanted pregnancy before the age of viability. What do I mean? Before the age of viability. That's before the age at which that conceptus can survive outside the mother in the best of neonatal facilities. And this will range from 20 weeks in some countries, 24, 28 in other countries. So terminating a product of conception before that age is called an abortion. How is this different from a miscarriage? Ideally, those two words were interchangeable, but then for the social correctness, we try to use them at different times. So we use the terminology abortion when we interfere with that process and terminate that pregnancy that is ongoing. But when we say miscarriage, it means that it's terminated spontaneously. It wasn't because of something we did or we didn't do. It wasn't because of anything to do with us. We didn't go ahead to deliberately terminate that pregnancy. For instance, let's say a pregnant woman falls ill, has an illness, a high febrile illness, and then loses the pregnancy. The pregnancy dislodges and comes out on its own. That's a miscarriage. You know, she was involved in an accident, a road traffic accident, and then she starts to bleed, and they say the pregnancy has been lost. We call that a miscarriage because many times that was a wanted pregnancy, really. But when we have an unplanned one, we didn't plan to get pregnant, but we're pregnant, and we don't want it, and we want to remove it. And then we do take steps to remove it. That is what we call an abortion. Now, why will I choose to have or not have an abortion? Like the definition says, it's an unplanned and unwanted pregnancy. Why will I have an unplanned and unwanted pregnancy? Well, you know, more than half of the pregnancies that take place in this world are unplanned. It has been found almost 80% were unplanned. But they were wanted, so they were kept. So a lot of us that are standing on the surface of the earth today, our pregnancies were not planned. But when our parents knew that we were pregnant, then they wanted it and they kept it, and here we are. But there are those ones that were unplanned and unwanted. How can an unplanned pregnancy take place? Okay, let's look at adolescents in the stage of discovery. We're discovering our bodies, we're discovering our emotions, we're discovering our sexuality. And then boy meets girl, and boy has sexual intercourse with girl, and girl gets pregnant. And girl is in school. Girl is 16, girl is 12, girl is 18, girl is in the university, she's in high school, and she's pregnant. What are the consequences of being pregnant in high school? In many schools, that girl has to drop out. Her education stops, at least temporarily, if not permanently. And so the consequences to her is like, oh my God, this is the end of my life. This is an unplanned pregnancy, and I don't want it. I want somebody to help me remove it from my body. And that is called an abortion for an unplanned and an unwanted pregnancy. What else happens? Another scenario. Female is sexually assaulted by male. No consent. I don't even know the person. It happened and the person disappeared. I cannot locate him. I cannot find him. A woman was raped, but she's pregnant because many things went wrong and that pregnancy was not prevented. And then she's pregnant for a man who she hates. She hates because of what he did to her. He had non-consensual sexual intercourse with her. He's disappeared into thin air, and she's pregnant. Do I want to keep this kind of pregnancy? No. In fact, the woman feels violated. In fact, the woman feels she's got all sorts of emotional problems going on. And so keeping the pregnancy, which is unplanned, unwanted, is not palatable to her. And so she wants to have an abortion. Another scenario, married woman. She's had 3 children, maybe she's had 5 children. Irrespective of the number, she's had all the children she planned to have. And then suddenly, maybe from contraceptive failure, might be from when she was changing her contraception, might be for many reasons she gets pregnant. And she's like, wow, I have my hands full already, or I can't afford anymore, or I've just gone back to pick up my career. My house is full. Our income level, we are full. We can't accommodate another child, and I'm pregnant. And so this woman now says, oh, I want to terminate this pregnancy. A woman wants an abortion. Another scenario, let's see. Another scenario, Valentine's Day was a few days ago. And I went out on a date, and we had fun. And then we ended up having sex. But then that was it, and we kissed and said goodbye. And that was on February 14th. And by February 28th, menstruation does not come. Oh my goodness. That woman didn't say her period. And 2 weeks after that, she confirmed pregnancy. Now she can't even remember the name of the guy. Maybe she's not even seen the guy again since then. Or maybe that was their first time of meeting. And, now I'm pregnant. Oh my goodness. I didn't plan for this. I don't want this. I can't cope with this. And the man is like, oh my goodness. That wasn't the plan. Why didn't you do something? You got to do something. Because I'm not ready for this. And then there's another need for an abortion. Now, this is getting more real. It was just a few days ago. This scenario I'm talking about, believe you me, in 2 weeks' time, a number of hundreds of thousands of women are going to find themselves in that position. And then they will have to know what to do. It's just a few days ago. Can I prevent pregnancy? Can I still prevent it? If I'm pregnant, if there's a possibility that I had Valentine, and then today, yes, you can prevent it too. It's still within 48 hours. You can do something. But then you gotta move quickly. Anyway, do I have a choice? I want us to look at some of the slides I have here. And in this first one, I've shown you the sperm and the egg. They're both looking so lovey-dovey, smiling at each other. We were made for each other. The sperm was made for the egg and the egg for the sperm. And that is true. And then when they come together, they begin to divide. Those two actually become one. That is the real two that becomes one. And then that one begins to divide. And every division, the cells are identical. Every division, the cells are identical. So much as there are many cells forming 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and then into the hundreds and into the millions, they're all still the same one genetic component. The two really became one. And then that is the beginning of the development of the human baby. All of us sitting down, everybody under the sound of my voice that can hear me now, went through that process of, growth, division, multiplication to form the human beings that we are today. So we're talking about that process of development of another person. And so we're looking in this picture, I showed the stages of development where it was 1 egg, and then there were about 6 eggs, and then they're developing and developing. And then we have the embryo. What's an embryo? When that egg, that combo of egg and sperm, once they combine and start to develop, it's called an embryo. And it's called an embryo for the next 10 weeks of development. Now, so that I don't confuse us, there's something called the age, calculating the age of the embryo from the day of conception. But none of us knows the exact day of conception because it's going on within the woman. Deep within her, there are no signs. The woman ovulated. The egg that was ovulated can last for 24 to 48 hours. At some point, it met a sperm met it, penetrated it, fertilized it, and they started growing. So the easiest way to count how many weeks a conceptus is from the last menstrual period. Because we know that most women, no, a good percentage of women have a 28-day cycle. But between normal menstrual cycle is from 21 days to 35 days. So any number between then that a woman has a regular menstruation is her cycle length. So if we use 28 weeks just as a template, ovulation will take place about day 14, but the next menstruation will come about day 28. So if any of us women all over the world had our period the first day on February 1st, then there's a likelihood that we ovulated on February 14th. And we had Valentine on February 14th. And some of us had, we had a great time for like a day or two. And by February 28th, we're expecting a period. If it does not come, chances are that we're pregnant. And then we wait a few days. We wait a week. We have urine tests now and blood tests that can detect pregnancy. Some can even detect it on that 28th day that the menstruation didn't turn up, and say, okay, by chemical confirmation, like blood or urine, we can confirm that there's likely to be a pregnancy. And then we will now do another test and do an ultrasound scan and look at the heart beating. When we confirm, when we see the heart, so after 6 weeks of urine test, when we do a urine test at 6 weeks and say, oh, there are those 2 blue lines, pregnancy is confirmed. In 2 weeks' time, we do an ultrasound scan and we can see the beating heart. Cardiac activity is there. Pregnancy is confirmed. Whoa, what do I do? An unplanned and an unwanted pregnancy. Look at this picture. This is what the human embryo looks like at 6 weeks. That 6 weeks is that time when you did the urine test, 2 weeks after you were expecting your period and it didn't turn up. This is the stage of development that embryo is in. That's what we're talking about. Should we terminate this pregnancy? Should we bring out this embryo? Or should we allow it to continue? Those are the things that we're talking about. This is one that has grown to the point where it has eyes. This is an older embryo, but you see it's still developing. The hands and legs, they're still budding, they're still coming. So this embryo is still less than 20 weeks. These are the things that we want to remove when we're having an abortion. So I'm just trying to make it real. So let's look at pregnancy again. How did it happen? What happened exactly? What happened? So what happened was that a girl child has reached puberty more often than not and has started menstruation and has a regular menstrual cycle. After, on the 14th day of her cycle, of a 28-day cycle, she ovulates, meaning that this is a picture of a representation of like an ovary that has been sliced open. And we can see the egg, the Graafian follicle, that's what we call the egg. It ovulates, it releases an egg. So this egg was like within a bag of water and some fluid and some cells. And when it got to a big enough age, the thing popped open and dropped an egg. This is the egg being dropped. And this is the rest of that Graafian follicle. And that now becomes what is called the corpus luteum. This egg, normally this happens, this is a picture of the uterus and the womb. This is the ovary. That is the fallopian tube, and it's broad at this end. When a woman ovulates, the egg is dropped into the fallopian tube here in the ampulla of the tube, this wide portion, and it waits here. This is where fertilization takes place. And then if there's fertilization, then it's like if it was Valentine's Day. It's like there's an announcement in the body, from the brain, from the ovary, that says fertilization has taken place. Pam, 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 pam. Fertilization has taken place. And then there is a frenzy. The rest of the follicle that ovulated suddenly takes on another nature. Instead of drying up and dying, it begins to produce something called progesterone. This becomes a corpus luteum of pregnancy. It transforms. There's a transformation taking place there. Now in the womb, in the uterus on the other side, there's also a signal. Fertilization has taken place. It takes about 7 days for that conceptus to travel from this ampulla through the tube to get into the uterus. About 7 days. In that 7-day period, the womb is just preparing. It's like, yes, Valentine is here. we're going out for dinner, and then we're going to dance after. Oh, we're going to have a great time. Oh, Valentine is here. Oh, Valentine is here. The same thing. The body is announcing there has been fertilization. There has been fertilization. An embryo is coming. Prepare the house. Prepare the womb. Get rich. Get fresh. Get soft. Become succulent. The lining of the womb begins to grow and begins to absorb fluid and begins to create an environment that is conducive for implantation. And then the egg arrives, the grand arrival. It's like the grand arrival of your vow on Valentine's Day, or the grand arrival of the bride and groom at the wedding. And then it just pops, it comes into the uterine cavity and it implants into the wall of the uterus. Now this wall of uterus is now soft, succulent, filled with blood, filled with fluids, in a very conducive environment for implantation. And the human embryo burrows in and it implants. And then it develops some tentacle-like projections and begins to burrow into the body of the womb of the woman. And it's like, you're digging a well looking for water. And at a point it gets to those blood vessels. It integrates itself with the blood vessels of the mother. And this is the formation of the human placenta. The placenta is formed. The embryo is there. It continues to develop. Now, that corpus luteum, by the time all of this is taking place, the embryo, it takes place, and then by the time the embryo is like 10 weeks, 10 weeks from conception, that's 12 weeks from the last menstrual period, the placenta is fully formed. The baby doesn't need the corpus luteum anymore and continues to get its nourishment from the mother. Now, that's just 10 weeks. That's 12 weeks following menstruation, following the last menstrual period. When did I say we do an abortion? Before 20 weeks. Meaning that from when we notice we're pregnant, 6 weeks, all the way through to when it's no longer an embryo, it's now a fetus. Because after that 12-week mark, it becomes a fetus. All the development has taken place. The cells have formed, the eyes have formed, the legs have formed, development has taken place. It's growth that we now continue. Things begin to grow. They begin to get more defined. But the groundwork has been laid for that human embryo to become a fetus. And then this is now the time when the woman has been thinking, oh, what do I do with this pregnancy? Oh God, I want to remove it. Some people will have removed it quickly at 6 weeks. When we remove it at 6 weeks, what we are removing is called an abortus. This is what it looks like. When we remove it at 15 weeks, this is 12 weeks or 14 weeks, this is what we're removing. It's more of a fetus. Yeah, it's a fetus. After 12 weeks, it's the fetus. And maybe some people want to remove it at 18 weeks. It's a fetus. It looks just like a baby. It's not yet developed. It can't survive. The lungs are not yet well formed. It can't survive outside the body, but it is a viable fetus. And so this is what we're talking about when we say, do I want to have an abortion? Do I want to truncate this process? Do I want to terminate this process? This started, it was unplanned, and it is unwanted. What do I do? Unfortunately, I cannot gift it to somebody. I can't say, oh, there's a woman here who's been trying to have a baby but has not been able to have one for whatever reason. I will give you a gift. I'll just pluck it out of me and I'll put it into you. Unfortunately, life is not so. It doesn't happen like that with human concepts. So we can't gift it to somebody else. And then the woman now says, I want to have an abortion. I want to remove this pregnancy. I don't want it. We got to take a deep breath in and out. And then look, why did this happen? What was the unmet need? Was there an unmet need for information? Did she know that she could get pregnant? Was it an adolescent? Was it even a first timer? My first time having sex and I'm pregnant. That happens a lot. Or was it that, oh, we tried to use a condom and then it broke? That's called the imperfect use of the condom. Or was it somebody who used to use some form of contraception and maybe was in the middle of changing it and then, Valentine came around and things happened and she's pregnant and it's like, what do I do? Why was this unmet need? Where did it come from? So there's the unmet need for information. There's the unmet need for education. Because some people, because their menstruation is irregular, they can't calculate accurately when ovulation will take place. And so there's a need for information. Some don't even know that there is anything about timing of pregnancy or timing of intercourse, you know. So that's a deep unmet need for information, and that information is available. It's available. You can get it from your doctor, you can get it from community centers, you can get it from your mother if you have one, or from older women in the community who are knowledgeable. Not everybody knows. Now, there's also the unmet need for contraception. So yes, I know that pregnancy takes place when a woman and a man have sexual intercourse. I know that pregnancy takes place when I have ovulation. But I don't know how to prevent that pregnancy from taking place, because that sexual intercourse, I'm going to have it. I'm going to have it, you know. But I don't want to be pregnant. So what do? That's the unmet need for contraception. Contraception takes many forms. It could be in the form of medication, tablets, that a woman takes every day, day in, day out, whether she has intercourse or not, takes it every day. That medication prevents ovulation. And when there's no ovulation, then there's no egg, so that there can be sperm without egg, so I can have intercourse without, you know, the consequence of an unplanned and unwanted pregnancy. There's also the IUD, which is what you see on the left here, the intrauterine contraceptive device. This is a device that is placed in the womb, and it prevents implantation. Then it also releases chemicals. Some release hormones that also prevent, in fact, make the environment not conducive for the sperm. So that even the sperm passing through there, by the time it gets into the tube, is weakened. Sometimes it's dead. It cannot penetrate an egg. It cannot fertilize the egg. Pregnancy will not take place. We have the condom. The condom is a very good form of contraception. More so for those people who are not in committed relationships, those who have multiple sexual partners, those younger adolescents, because it also prevents sexually transmitted infections. Remember, I spoke about HPV, human papilloma virus. I spoke about STI, gonorrhea, syphilis, chlamydia. It prevents a lot of these infections. It does not prevent HPV. It does not prevent HPV, but it prevents other infections, gonorrhea, syphilis. And so it's very good, especially when there are multiple sexual partners as well. It's very good. But there are different sizes. They come in different material, latex, non-latex. It comes in sizes. It comes in textures. It comes in flavors. You know, it comes in colors. It comes with additionals on it. There is a whole array of condoms available. Yes, I know some people say, oh, they need to have skin to skin. Or it's not the same when it's not skin to skin. Sometimes you are using the wrong type. Sometimes you are using the wrong type. You can change it. You can try. Experiment with the different types. Some people say, oh, they don't use it right. Because did you know that they'll come in sizes, small, medium, large, extra large, and extra small? Oh, yeah. It's not a one size fits all. And so that's what happens many times. And then they say, oh, the condom burst. It burst because there was the wrong size, you know, and sometimes the wrong use. Some people say, oh, you know, I'll do some penetration and then I'll use the condom after. No, every drop of fluid that is coming has sperm in it. And so you might have released maybe 5 million sperms before you put on the condom. And after that 5 million sperm, you only need one to fertilize the egg. So the wrong or improper use of a condom many times is what is responsible for all those happens. We used the condom, but we're still pregnant. You know, and then there's also now the surgical aspects. You know, there could be surgical sterilization where we cut the tube of the woman. It can be nipped, it can be cut, it can be, you know, use a hook, use a band to interfere so that when the sperm gets in there, it can't get to the egg. Then there's also vasectomy. Vasectomy is a really simple procedure. It's a procedure that in those countries that accept it, oh my goodness, it works. It's beautiful because it's a simple procedure. It's done in the clinic. It's a short procedure, 30 minutes. If you go into the clinic, within 2 hours, you're out of the clinic and vasectomy is done. And once vasectomy is done, after a certain number of ejaculates, you know, you can check it. There are no spermatozoa. So there's still an ejaculate. The man is not dry. He still ejaculates, but there's no spermatozoa in the ejaculate. And that's when you know the vasectomy has been successfully done. We've had a very quick conversation today about abortion. In our next conversation, we're going to talk about the consequences of abortion. We're going to talk about abortion laws. What do I mean by abortion laws? What's government's business in abortion? Or in the life of a woman, or what she wants to do with her body? that issue of life, pro-choice. What exactly are we talking about? Why is it important? Why is it relevant conversation? What are the consequences of abortion? There are emotional consequences. There are psychological consequences. There are medical consequences. A lot of women lose their life while trying to procure an abortion. So should we, in our next discussion, coming up in the next few days, we're going to take the part B of abortion. But so far, so good. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that I have been able to inform, educate, and somewhat counsel you on what exactly an abortion is. And then we'll take it to the next level in our next series. Thank you. Bye.